It's no secret the Jets need to add a weapon opposite Garrett Wilson. We're not just going to add anyone. We're looking for a significant upgrade at the wide receiver position.
Jets, 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 Jets!
All right, I'm really excited about this one. The New York Jets are set to add a significant wide receiver via free agency or the draft or the trade. I'm looking forward to it. We'll get into the comments, but first, I want to thank the sponsor of the channel, SKG Tax. The New York Jets practice and play in New Jersey. This tax season, the Jets may struggle with their state tax identity. If you're a fan and can't determine how to report your income, call JR the Tax Czar and address all your multi-state tax questions. Don't go on the road to another state as a wildcard filer. Hire yourself a CPA and game plan to defend your home turf. Thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. JR is a great Jet fan, so if you want us to help the channel and help a sponsor that's also a Jet fan, hit up JR the Tax Czar, SKG Tax. But let's hop in to our topic of the day, and that is the significant options for the New York Jets at wide receiver. The Jets are going to go big game hunting, according to one Rich Cimini. He comes in, he says, the Jets are hoping to make a significant addition at wide receiver through trade, free agency, or the draft, which would drop Allen Lazard on the depth chart. Ultimately, that would benefit him, or may benefit him, because he doesn't seem to be cut out for wide receiver 2. And that's kind of like what we saw through the course of the season. Now, I won't address the draft right now because we got free agency, we got trades, things like that that could happen before the draft. Jets are kind of in position for like a Roma Dunze, a Brock Bowers, maybe Malik Neighbors if he falls, a few guys at the top of the draft, and then, subsequent rounds after that. But I want to focus on the trades or free agent sides of things, and I think there's a few wide receivers that come to mind when we hear significant. Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Odell Beckham Jr., and then I think Calvin Ridley falls into that description. And I'm going to throw Mike Williams and Courtland Sutton in there as well, because I think those two guys are going to be they will be salary cap casualties because their team salary cap situations, as well as maybe potential trade options for, cap relief, that sort of thing. So I do think these players are all going to be available, but I want to go over a few different things. I want to go over the money. I want to go over their total yards. I want to go over touchdowns, drop percentage, and penalties, and games missed. I want to talk about all this because this is where I think we got to pay attention. Got to pay attention to this. Jets got to add someone major here. As far as money goes, they're all going to be pretty pricey. The most expensive being Michael Pittman Jr., T. Higgins, and Mike Evans. Those guys will probably get the franchise tag. You could consider the tag maybe for Calvin Ridley. He's got an interesting situation to him because his contract's up, and what happens is if he leaves the Jaguars only give up their third-round pick this year. If he stays on the team and signs a long-term deal, that escalates to a second-round pick. So do the Jaguars want to give up Calvin Ridley and a second-round pick to keep him on the team? I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. It depends. It sounds like he kind of wants to stay down there. So maybe since they made the initial investment of, I think it was a fourth-round pick and what ended up being a third-round pick, if it's a fourth and a second, because they signed him, is that enough to pay Calvin Ridley for the production that you got out of him? It's possible. As far as all these other guys, I think the money makes perfect sense across the board. 2 money signs for Sutton because if you traded for him, his contract's not that crazy. He might get maybe a little bit more elevated as a free agent. Mike Williams coming off an ACL tear, probably not going to get a crazy ton of money. And then Odell, we saw him get $15 million this past year. I figure somewhere ballpark around that the same, maybe $12 to $15 million. And the other guys may end up getting the franchise tag. As far as yards for this past season, the top 3 guys were Mike Evans, 1,300 yards, Michael Pittman, 1,152 yards, and Calvin Ridley, 1,016 yards. Odell playing second fiddle in Baltimore. He does so much more than just catch the ball. He gets a lot of guys open as well. So it's a little... He puts a pressure on the defense because of his speed, I think. But also in Baltimore, they're going to have slightly different play styles. They focus on the tight end a lot more, so maybe he's not seeing as many throws his way. And then, like I said, Mike Williams wound up injuring his ACL this year, so he's not getting as many yards this past season. As far as touchdown goes, the top guys, Michael Evans again coming in number 13. Courtland Sutton with a cool 10 touchdowns, and Calvin Ridley with number 8 touchdowns total. Odell and Mike Williams, for obvious reasons, for Mike Williams at least, coming in with 1 touchdown. So not crazy. Mike Williams generally averages about 4 or 5 touchdowns a season from what it looks like historically. So maybe he's more in line with the rest of these guys. But you can see where the maybe the red zone opportunities come in for a Mike Evans or for a Courtland Sutton with those bigger body frames. I really like it. As far as their drop percentages goes, the best guys in terms of drop percentages, Michael Pittman, 5.3%, Odell, 6.3%, and Mike Williams, 6.5%. Now, Sutton and Ridley have the highest career drop percentages with an 8.2 and an 8.3, respectively. So, is that a concern for you? I don't know. I guess I'd have to look. I should have pulled up Alan Lazard's numbers. That would probably be some good reference points. But I would think any of these guys would feel like an upgrade over Alan Lazard either way. Penalty-wise, we've got 8 penalties from Michael Pittman, 6 from Courtland Sutton, so not great from them. And as far as like other penalties, Mike Williams, I put 1 penalty down because that's roughly what he averages per season. I think he's got 4. Is it 4 penalties over a 7-year career? It's insane. He doesn't get like penalized at all. Odell had 2 this past year, and then Calvin Ridley had 3. So everyone else is kind of falls in line. You know, maybe some concerns with Pittman, but again, I don't think Pittman's going to be able to shake free unless it's a trade. As far as games missed, you have 31 from Odell, obviously the knee injury. Calvin Ridley missed 30, but 17 of those games were due to a gambling suspension. So knock that back. It's not necessarily injuries missed as much as it is, making a poor decision or getting caught making a decision that you're not supposed to do. So you could shave off 17 games from Calvin Ridley. Courtland Sutton coming in at 18 games, 15 of those games are from a knee injury 3 years ago. So he really hasn't missed any games the last 4 years. This is all a 4-year sample size as far as how many games they've missed. Mike Williams missed 17 this year, but until then, he had only missed he didn't miss 17. He missed 14 this year, and he missed, a total of 5 outside of that the last 4 years. So other than the knee injury, really not crazy bad. Odell has had a bunch of injuries. That's the one that's, I think, the most red flaggy here. And then obviously T. Higgins and Mike Evans and Michael Pittman just haven't missed any games. Pittman, through his entire career, basically plays every game. I am absolutely in love with Mike Evans here. As far as who I think could be realistic options for the New York Jets, or who do I want them to go after, I don't really want Odell, I'll be honest, after his comments that he made towards the Jets. But he does say, it's the passion of playing in New York and all this other stuff. And I feel like the locker room dynamic may not be great with him. So I'd bump him out of here. I think Michael Pittman and T. Higgins are both going to get franchise tagged. I don't think they're actually going to be options for the New York Jets. So it comes down to these final 4. Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley, Courtland Sutton, and Mike Williams. I would say my number 1 option here would be Mike Evans, first and foremost. It is a monster contract that you're going to have to sign him to, but I think given his contract length of 2 or 3 years, lines up well with the contract extension you eventually want to give Garrett Wilson, and I think he complements us in a totally different way. The other option that I like as like a 1B type option is Courtland Sutton. He's only on a $13.5 million deal if he's traded. So if they need to get some cap relief because they're cutting Russell Wilson, it's going to be some monster number that they're going to have to overcome, then maybe the Jets, who may be rumored to want to trade Zach Wilson over to Denver, maybe that's the move they could make. Jets will eat Zach Wilson's salary, for instance, so that way Denver doesn't take on any cap hit, and they get the relief of someone they may have cut anyway in Courtland Sutton. I would love it, especially because his wide receiver coach that he was drafted with in 2018 is currently our wide receivers coach he had for the last 5 years. So maybe there's a connection there. Mike Williams, I really like Mike Williams a lot. I would be down to bring him in. He's probably, honestly, any one of these 4, I'd be tickled pink with. I wanted Calvin Ridley. I wanted to trade a top pick for Calvin Ridley 2 years ago. And then the whole gambling thing happened and we wound up going with Garrett Wilson, which is totally fine by me. But I would have traded for him at that point in time. So any one of these 4, I think the New York Jets should definitely target. Guys, I want to hear from you. Which of these wide receivers do you like the most? Which ones do you think I should have included that I didn't include? Do you like Hollywood Brown or Darnell Mooney or maybe a DeAndre Hopkins or something along those lines? Let me know in the comments section down below. And as always, go Jets.
J-E-T!